You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430. This is episode 177. And oh boy, we've got a lot to unpack in this episode. So, up in my top left-hand corner, we got Philly coming to us from Port Perry. Down on the bottom, we got Ben Crete coming to us from, where are you, Benny?
Cambridge, Ontario.
Cambridge. Mr. Phil Odel, where are you coming from, Phil?
We are in the wonderful municipality, the township of Puslinch, Ontario.
Ooh, that's some good dog training down there. I'm actually heading down there. I'm heading down there this summer to finish off. Hopefully get some master passes for my dog.
Well, you better come in and see us.
Oh, 100%, buddy. 100%. Like I said, we've got a ton to unpack. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, we can't do this show without our sponsors. So First Light, Real Geese, Ducklander Calls, and of course, the voice of the Union 0430, Mr. Jeff Coates. Please go to their social media, give them some love, say that we sent you, because then that means we're doing our job, and then they're happy, and, you know, it just all rolls down from there, snowballs from there. So, great show tonight. We're going to kick this right off. So, Ben and Phil both are from Odel Engineering, and for any of you, especially people here in Ontario, you know them because you've seen them at the trade shows. You're probably even shooting some of the firearms that they distribute into Ontario, because you guys, like, you're more than just one brand. You know, like, you know, the Canuck line of guns is yours, but you guys are Bagheera. You got a ton of stuff that you guys are into. So we're gonna get into that. But first, I gotta bring up the fact that you guys are coming to the Toronto Sportsman Show. 2 booths, one in the main hall where Phil's got prime real estate. I don't even know how you got that prime real estate, Phil, because that is prime real estate. And because after last year, I had went to the general manager and I was like, hey, I'm not real happy about the location that I was in. Can we move me like down towards the main hall? He was like, yeah, no, you're not getting that. You're not getting that real estate, buddy. That's been spoken for, bought and paid for. Yeah, you're not getting it. So so they'll have their main booth, which is an impressive booth with a full lineup of all their firearms. That'll be there. And then the second booth will be up in the Refuge, and we'll get into what's going to be happening up in the Refuge in a little bit. But Ben, Phil, the biggest thing is that you guys are launching a new turkey gun this year. Tell us a little bit more about it, Ben.
Yeah. There's been a lot of up and down on turkey guns, and this one should be called the BK, not the OG. Ben has put heart, soul, sweat, blood, his left arm, possibly a spare child, into getting this thing going, and he's done a fine job. It's a great gun. It's much more conventional than our earlier forays into turkey specific guns.
Yep.
So I mean, I'll let the kid tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously most guys know, or if they don't know, I'm a pretty avid turkey hunter.
Yep.
This has been like, I don't know, a 5-year project maybe. This gun specifically about 3 years, but we're all building a turkey gun for Canuck and Odel has been like a 5-year project. So this one is a 20 gauge inertia. There you go. So this one's a 20 gauge inertia driven semi-automatic, 24-inch barrel, fiber optic front sight, drilled and tapped receiver with a Picatinny rail and a pistol grip stock. So, oh, and original bottomland too as the pattern for.
Most important, the bottom land.
Now you're
And
talking.
it's a full camo. It's not patchwork. It's a full bottom line.
Yeah, the full gun is camouflaged. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yes. Go
Ben,
ahead.
so I know last year, like talking to you last year, like you traveled, did you get the Grand Slam last year?
Did a Royal Slam last year, so all subspecies in North America, minus the ocellated turkey and the Yucatan.
Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
and this was the
Couldn't
gun that
manage to squeeze that one in.
and this was the gun that you done
Yeah,
your yeah.
So this is the gun that basically we were testing through all of that. Phil also did his Royal Slam with me too, so we actually got 2 Royal Slams done in one season, which was
Wow.
is
So
a ever attempt.
I
explain
used half the ammo.
Nice to slide that in, Phil.
Yeah,
That was
he does
nice to-
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
So explain to me the difference between the Grand Slam and the Royal Slam.
So the Royal Slam, so the Grand Slam is the 4 subspecies. So
Right.
Stern, Miriam's, Rio, and Osceola in Florida.
Yeah.
The Royal Slam adds a Gould's in Mexico or Arizona.
Oh.
We shot ours in
If you look at it geographically,
Yeah.
the Grand Slam is essentially US based, but it takes in Canada, the
Right.
southern portion of Canada. When you go to the Royal Slam, the
Yeah.
Gould's is in northern Mexico. So
Right.
it is relatively geographically close to the other 4 birds.
Right.
When you go for the Worlds, that goes much further down in Mexico, and so that's a separate project.
Yeah.
Wow.
We shot ours in Mexico though, which was an incredible trip.
Gould's, yeah.
Wow.
The Mexico trip was amazing. When the video comes out on the Mexico trip, you guys got to watch that.
Oh, I'm sure
It
we
was
will.
absolutely gorgeous country where we were in Mexico, and the people we were with from J. Scott it couldn't have been nicer. Those guys were fantastic hosts.
Yeah.
And I mean, Benny was probably the youngest guy there. But we were helping another fella. Geez, how old was he? He's got to be close to 80.
He was 80, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
And the guides there, really superb people. They did everything they could to make sure everybody had a good time, and they did a great job.
No, and that's, I would think if you're looking at a guide, or I know some people might think that the gold star to a guide is getting you your animal, right? And I don't want to, I got to be careful how I say this. Like, it's not that anybody can put you on an animal, but if you own an outfit, like, you know what animals are around, right? Like, you're doing your scout, and you know what's going on. The biggest part, I think, for a guide is that experience. So the whole thing, right from being the first 5 minutes coming into the lodge till you're packed up and you're going out, right? That, I think that's what gets an outfitter the gold standard. So, and when they go above and beyond what the package included for the price, that's just what brings back repeat customers, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's not to say that it's an easy hunt.
No,
and
not at all.
I would never say that. I mean, you're at 5,000-6,000 feet elevation for these birds. So, I mean, that in and of itself is its own part of the experience. But the beauty of the guides is they kind of, a good guide judges the person he's got, and they do more or less according to what you need and what you want out of the experience. And these guys were fantastic.
Top notch.
They really were excellent.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, okay, so back to this turkey gun. So I know that it is it right to call it a special edition, Ben?
I mean, yeah, especially for this year, like there may be slight changes for it next year as we see how this goes, but yeah, we're limited to 50 for this year. So,
and will all 50 be available to be purchased at the Toronto Sportsman Show?
Bill,
Well, You
Yes.
aren't getting mine. So 49.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There might be 48 of them.
There's a couple of people that have been heavily involved in helping us out with this, and it would be wrong not to get them
Sure.
one of the first batches of guns. But
Of course.
everything we have available, and Ben, you could get into the version 2 as well. But everything we have available for sale will be at the Sportsman Show. Yes.
Okay, good. Well, no, that's good news, because obviously the whole point of the show is you want people walking out the door with merchandise or product, right? So
100%. And that's a great thing about Toronto Sportsman Show. They actually allow you to do that.
Yeah.
So, kudos for the guys that put that on. They've worked hard with the CFO and the dealers and distributors to make that happen. And that's not easy.
I'm really digging around here because I know there's something else coming with that gun, Ben. So come on, like you got to give it to us.
Oh,
because
okay, yes.
Yeah, so let's drum it up here and get some
over there. Just good timing.
Yeah.
So at the Sportsman Show, there is going to be for all the guns purchased at that show, there is a whiskey glass that is included, like a custom etched whiskey glass, to, I guess, commemorate the giveaway or the gun.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so if you purchase one at
only the first guns will get the whiskey glass.
That's right.
It's a unique thing.
Yeah, the whiskey glass is just as limited as the 50 guns. So
and this is something, man, I got to tread light on this because it is something that I hate to ask, but Canuck gun, and I'm going to ask you just because I know fellas are people that are listening, and they're going to say the same thing, right?
Yep.
And so, when you sometimes within some certain groups of friends and hunt groups, people are very loyal to a brand, right? So, and when it comes to, say, Canuck guns, what do you say to people when they say, well, listen, those guns aren't to the same quality as X, 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 and X, right? So what do you guys say to those people when they bring that up?
I mean, I can say my points pretty quick, and then I'll let Phil take on this because this is department. But I mean, this is what you get with Canuck guns. Like, you get guys who actually hunt. Yeah. We travel around, we test our firearms. And I'm going to let Phil continue on from those points. But that would be my main point to everyone is, these guns are actually brought in, tested by us. All the features and stuff are picked by us.
Yep.
It's someone else making these decisions for us. We are picking the brand.
Right.
Well, I'd say first and foremost, I'd say you're also talking about the evolution of a brand. The Canuck brand is 8 years old, give or take.
Yeah, very young compared to the others. Yeah,
exactly. And it originally started out as a moniker on one pump shotgun that was in our line, just because we put the name on it, and then it took on a life of its own, and we expanded it to other things. And you're right, there was a couple of them where we had problems with the particular firearm, and it was a design issue, and for good or for bad, being as it's a Canuck, we wear it either way.
100.
We did that so that we could enhance the gun and make changes without introducing a new name, something new to the market.
Right.
We wanted to have our own brand and move that forward. Some of the guns, our Enforcer, our CRDCW, our Commander Sentry line, our pump shotguns, those things have been selling thousands of guns a year for 7 or 8 years now. Excuse me. We did have a couple of issues, and what we've done is we've removed those from the market. First and foremost, we support everything that we sell. So there's no such thing as buying a Canuck, and if you have a problem, you got nobody. We have the online warranty form. We have people here at the shop that are dedicated to supporting the customer. That's all they do. and they, in their other time, we have other projects for them, but their priority is on warranty, asking questions or answering questions, and helping out our shooters. And I mean, we get everything from, buddy fell out of a tree stand and cracked his stock. Oh, I was a dummy. And I got no problem sending the guy a stock. I mean, that's great. I love to hear love to hear that you're using it.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple of instances where it was a deeper problem than that, and we've replaced guts. We've replaced entire, segments of the line in order to build it better. And I think now, and the OG is the best current example of that, is we've spent a little bit more time because we've had more time.
Mm-hmm.
We've worked with our pro staff and guides and outfitters to test the gun in Canadian conditions. And I think overall the entire line is getting better. And it's getting better because we get the feedback. And, the worst thing is not having a gun and not having any support.
Yeah.
And we do support the guns. And I think the comments I see online are, very, very positive about the support that we put behind the line. We support all our guts. You mentioned Agara and Duria. We support those. We do all the warranty for those as well here. Nothing leaves our shop in the firearms side. We do 100% of the maintenance here if anybody has a problem. And that doesn't matter whether you broke it, whether it's a warranty issue or what happened. We look after it here.
Well, I can tell you this because I know it. I've seen it. I've been there. I have never, and I can put my hand on my heart and say this, I have never heard anybody say that they didn't get nothing but the best support from you guys when they call. I've never heard anybody say, yeah, well, something happened and they kind of fucked me off. No, never. I've never heard anybody say that. So that it's a very good point, Phil, that you bring up when you say, and you know what, I'm guilty because I never really thought about it in that sense. When you're saying it's the evolution of a brand. So nothing starts off, I'll use the term that we use in the Army, and that's nothing starts off bomb-proof right off the beginning. Nothing. There's always something that you got to tweak it. There's always a design flaw. There's always something that you got to change, right? Nothing comes off the assembly line first shot perfect. So it's a good way to look at it because I never ever really thought about it as an evolution of a firearm or as a brand. It's a good point. Well,
to use a phrase you're probably also very familiar with, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy.
No, plan survives first contact. That's right.
And that's to a very great degree exactly what we go through. And we've been learning this. I've got a lot of years in the business, but my background was all military.
Yep.
And so the hunting side is a little bit different, and it has different requirements. And you're exactly right. You've got to learn the requirements of the business area, learn the requirements that the customers put on the guns, and then address that in a way that gives them a good product. We make a reasonable amount of money so that we can continue to support the product. We can continue to invest in new lines. And I hope that next year we're saying that the next evolution in the line is the best gun we've ever made.
Yeah.
Because I want to continuously improve it. And Benny, in terms of that, you talk a little bit more about the second version of the gun that you're bringing in as well.
Oh, like the Waterfowl version?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm also so this gun I also took past 2 years to Saskatchewan with me for goose season.
Yep.
I mean, I'm a big waterfowl guy, as you know, so
all
here. So we're bringing it out, the same inertia gun, but in a waterfowl gun. So 28-inch barrel, extended choke tubes, vent rib, and again, full bottomland camouflage. You'll want to get one, Damien, basically is what I'm getting at. It's gorgeous. Hey, ask Luke. talking to him next time.
Oh, I will. I will.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a so that's something. So first off, I'm gonna come back to that, Ben, because Phil mentioned something, and I gotta ask him because I've been meaning to ask Phil this question for about 2 years, and every time I meet up with him, I forget it. Phil, were you involved with the Vanguard robot back in the day?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, in that I was involved with Vanguard Response, which was originally a chemical biological decontamination company,
Yep.
and my area was the chemical decontamination. And
Okay.
if you remember the Blast Guard 10,
Yep.
but
Yep.
we also did own the company that had the Vanguard robot,
Yep.
and that would be a very, very good example of a product that needed to evolve with time. It was a great idea.
Yep.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it was a suitcase-sized robot. It could go places nothing else could go.
Buddy, I used that robot on my first. I used that robot on my first tour in Afghanistan.
So you were a bomber.
Yeah.
Ah, very cool.
Mm.
Very
So
cool.
my very first, the first tour that's what we had was that Vanguard, that orange robot. And I've been meaning to ask you that question a million times, and I just always forget about it, or we get tied up in another conversation, and it just get forgot
Yes,
about.
we were involved in it. I did some engineering on it. I was not. It was peripheral to my main
Right.
responsibilities. But
Right.
as a mechanical engineer, when some of the things happened with the robot, it became an all hands on deck
Yeah.
to support you guys that were in the field.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for that because I love that little thing. It was the funnest thing in the world.
We used to drive them around all over the place at shows. We would
Oh,
take
yeah.
coffee to people with them. They were an incredible robot, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, they could go up decent stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. You're correct. That was a very, very cool thing. So
Yep.
you and I got some more stuff to go get a beer and have a chat about.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, luckily enough, in 2 weeks we're going to be together. So we'll have some beers and we'll talk about it. Ben, talking about this waterfowl gun,
Yep.
and the talk, and Philly, jump in, buddy, if you got questions and stuff. But when I asked you about Canuck guns and you said, "Hey, listen, like we're testing the guns, we're designing them. Somebody's not telling us what to push," and then you talk about this waterfowl gun, and I know you, Luke Shirters, and there's a bunch of you guys every year. It's the same crew that heads out west, and when you're surrounding yourself with these dudes, and listen, I know Luke Shirters and I know some of the fellas that you're hanging, like they're not going to sugarcoat shit for you either, right? Like they tell you how it is.
I mean,
Like,
I was friends with all of them before Canuck.
yeah,
So it's one of those things where when I'm starting, they've been
yeah,
super cool in us getting to where we're at, to be honest.
absolutely. No, but and isn't that's the way it's supposed to be, right? Like, you surround yourself with good people and good things happen. But if you can, come up with a product, and you can have the utmost trust in the people that you're asking questions to, because anybody could say, "Oh, it's a fabulous product," because they don't want to ruffle feathers. But
Yep.
those guys, if they ruffle feathers, they ruffle feathers. They really,
Oh, we've had some stinkers that they've told me. It's happened. It's not,
Yeah, of course. But
I mean,
that's
if
why
there's
they're
a gun
friends.
there's a gun that can survive, like honestly, 2 weeks with Luke up there. That gun is probably enough for 99% of the hunters out there. So,
Well, and yeah.
Luke makes things that are officer proof. Look,
What I think what a lot of people like don't understand, obviously they're not in the industry of like say just guns or business in general, but like there's this thing called growing pains. Like, regard like you could put 3, 4, 5 years into a product, you might miss something. And
oh yeah,
someone else down the road is going to see this and figure this out, and like, yeah, you're going to have these issues. Like, it's the same. Like, look at vehicles, for example. X, Y, or Z dealership or brand brings out a brand spanking new vehicle, like fresh out the market. Well, I'm one of those guys that's hesitant to buy said brand new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Give it 3, 4, 5 years, get the bugs worked out. But like people just don't understand, like, you could put, I don't care what kind of rigorous testing through whatever products, like there's going to be unforeseen things that happen. Like, and this is my biggest comment, and I love saying this on Facebook, like people rag on stuff. Well, let's see you make it better, sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fucking radio silence.
Mm. No, good point, and a great point.
I peaked late today.
I
Well, you're
did.
not wrong. And one of the things, and Damien, you would probably remember this. When I was at Dymaco, we were working with the combat optic, and we had this thing worked out, and we tested it, and it wasn't the way I would have designed it, but it was made functional and durable. And we took them into service, and I have serial number 2, so I was kind of involved in that project. The very first time we took them out, all of a sudden things started blowing, the bases started coming apart.
Yeah.
In between, yes, we signed off on the design and here's production, there was a material change made on a couple of very critical components. Nobody told us.
Yeah.
I mean, in your, Philly, you're 100% correct that learning curve. And, when we as design engineers and field test guys put standards in and requirements in for things, sometimes the production people don't 100% take it seriously. And that's been something we've worked very, very diligently on to make sure that when we say, this has got to be this material, this has got to be this material, that it doesn't get changed. And I mean, I'll be honest, we still get caught once in a while.
No,
it's a lot better than it was, but you're absolutely right. Those evolutions and that learning curve, you can't understate it.
Buddy, I don't think it's possible that you're not going to have an issue, right? Like we're still humans. There's still humans doing part of the work, and then you've got machinery that's doing the other. Like you can't eliminate all the error. So that's all I'm
And
getting.
everybody's got an account.
Well, and you know what? And here's the thing. I read somebody put this on Facebook the other day because and we don't need to get into the product, but someone went on Facebook and they started talking about this product and they were shitting all over it. And some dude, and he wasn't with this company or anything, and he was like, "Did you reach out to the company and talk about your problem?" And he was like, "Well, no, it's a bullshit problem." And he was like, "Well, instead of coming on Facebook and tearing the company up, why don't you call them up? And if they tell you no, or they're not helping you, or they're not dealing with you, well, then you got every right to sort of kind of tear them a new one if it goes against their warranty." But
yeah.
people jump too quick to talk shit about a company or a brand or a product without ever coming to the company and saying, "Hey, listen, can you help me fix this?" Because like I said, going back to what I said, I have never heard anybody say anything bad about the customer service from Canuck. Never.
And I've also never heard anyone say Mark Zuckerberg solved their problems.
Good point, Billy. Good point.
That's accurate point.
Like everybody and their cousin goes on Facebook ranting and raving about stuff. And like a lot of times, again, I'm just a smart ass. It is what it is. And I'd rather be a smart ass than a dumbass. But like I'll put it on there and be like, "Well, do you think Mark's going to solve your problem?" And they're like, "Who's Mark?"
Yeah.
The guy who owns Facebook, dumbass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like, what do I do about this issue? Have you contacted the company?
Yeah.
No, mind
I
exploded.
always say to anybody that I know, if there's anything like that, please tag me in, because one of our biggest difficulties is reaching out to those folks who don't reach out to us and trying to get with them, because we want to make it right.
Yeah, of course you do.
An unhappy customer is no good to anybody, and if I can make it right, 100%, we want to do that.
Now, I will say this though, and I don't expect you to say it, Phil, or you, Ben, but there's also a bunch of assholes out there that will take their gun and wrap it around a tree for shits and giggles and then say, hey, my gun's fucked up. I need a new gun. So, hey, listen, there's problems and then there's problems. There's two totally different sets of problems. So, um,
Yeah.
I guess when you're complaining, make sure that it's actually the manufacturer's problem and not because you were a bonehead and drove your truck over your gun or whatever. But I'll leave that at that because the last thing I need is a bunch more people messaging me and telling me I'm an asshole. So, but I did want to get into. So we talked about the Toronto Sportsman Show, the Odel massive mausoleum of a booth that they put right in the beginning as soon as you walk into the Toronto Sportsman Show. It is goddamn impossible to enter the Toronto Sportsman Show without seeing the Odel booth. It's impossible. So brilliant on your part. The second booth is coming up to the Refuge. And listen, this, you don't know how long I've been waiting to talk about this. I've known for I don't know how long, or I shouldn't say I've known, but I've had an idea for a while, and it's been just fucking eating at me that I can't stand on top of the mountains and scream it. So Benny, I'm not taking your thunder away from you. This is all you, buddy. So in the Refuge, the second Odel booth, what's it all about?
Well, there's two things.
Yep.
First, you will be able to buy the OG, the new gun, the waterfowl version and the turkey version in that booth.
Oh.
Yeah, so it will be available there in the Refuge, not at the main Canuck booth. We're going to do it exclusively through the Refuge booth.
Oh.
And then there's going to be some swag available. Yep. And then it'll be the introduction of Apex ammunition.
Yeah.
Waiting for.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah. So that's been, I mean, we talked about it, Damien, I think last March, actually.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, and you might not remember, but it was the day that we were setting up, and you and Phil were both walking around with Apex hoodies on.
And
I was
the
like,
DU event in Grimsby, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it? Was it the D? Okay.
Oh no, it was.
It was
no. Might have been Sportsman Show.
It was Sportsman Show because you guys.
Oh, was it Sportsman Show?
Yeah.
Because
oh, that's right. Yeah, we just got back from being down south.
That's right. You guys just.
We were just visiting.
Back.
Yeah.
And I remember I seen you and I was like, come swing by after Ben for a beer. And you were like, yeah, I'll swing by. And you come by, you had a beer, and I was like, all right. So that hoodie that you're wearing, and then you sort of kind of, you were like, well, this is what we're working on. We're a long ways off, and from over the last year, just me trying to educate myself on that whole process, and by no means am I an expert, and I wasn't involved in it. But dude, to bring a new ammo company into Canada, what a daunting task that is.
Yeah, that's all Phil, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Take zero credit on that side of the.
So here's what I was told, Phil. It's easier to get ammo into Afghanistan than what it is into Canada. That's what I was told.
Oh shit, yeah. The Afghans want it. It's easy to bring stuff where people want it. You know, we have a government and a border and all of that stuff, and they really aren't all that enthusiastic about new stuff coming in. Right. Though, and I say that, and it's mostly in jest, because it is. You're correct. It's not a process for the faint of heart.
No.
But the people that we deal with in Natural Resources Canada, the Explosives Division of Natural Resources Canada, and I'm not going to name names because there's so many of them, but they are fantastic people, and
they know what they're talking about.
They're superb people to deal with.
Yep.
I was dealing with one lady today on a different project, and I needed a document, and she's a PhD chemist, and and she's just like, oh, I can get that for you. Boom, it's in the email. And she was like, I thought it was available through. I didn't realize that they didn't have it downloadable. They really go out of their way to be helpful, but there is a process. And it's one thing if you're Olin Matheson and you want to bring in a new Winchester round. Well, they go, yep, you're easily suable. Bring it in, because the legal system is going to keep you honest.
Right.
when you're talking about a brand new, very small niche company that makes a fabulous round.
Mhm.
You know, last year I fired 5 of them at turkeys, and I have 5 turkeys with the taxidermist. Stuff works.
Yeah.
It is a brilliant ammunition. The technology, the stuff that they put into it, is really cool. I mean, it's not just that it's tungsten super shot. There's everything from little details of hull modifications to the wadding, to the way that they put the top wad, how they buffer everything, how they load everything, how particular they are. I mean, it's production hand loaded ammunition.
Yeah.
It really is. Every single round goes through, I think, what was the count, Benny? Was it 7 people? I
Yes.
think it's 7 people. It might be more than that, that
But
actually
I don't remember.
deal with every single round that
Really?
goes through before it goes into an Apex approved box.
Wow. I just
They're
want to throw it
very,
out
very
there that
particular.
they are. I just want to throw it out that they are a veteran owned business too.
Yes, they are. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
There's
br-
a lot of veterans work
Yeah.
in the company down there. A lot of families of veterans, in the support people in the company. It's a ton of fun to go down and see them.
Yeah.
Mississippi has a very understandable accent, so it makes working with them really easy. Um, but yeah, it's a great company, and
Yeah.
going through this process, I'm fairly certain that Natural Resources Canada had good feelings on the company and the research, because they did not make us do nearly the testing that they
Right.
could have asked us to do.
Right.
So they were very good about that. But it is a long process. I mean, they say that the testing process can be 12 weeks. Well, we put the application in on the 15th of August, and we're waiting for it. I was called for a payment, which I'm all fingers crossed was the one that triggers moving it to an approved
Right.
explosive. So we haven't seen that yet.
We're
It
close.
may be a massive announcement at Sportsman Show, because
Right.
it's literally right there.
It's just okay. So
Fingers
that's
crossed.
where we are right now. We're literally just waiting for that paperwork, and
Taken
then
money.
yeah. What's that?
They've taken money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They take it. Oh well.
Oh, so we're
Our
real
governments
close.
are good at that.
Yeah. You're real close.
Yeah, and we've got product ready to roll at Apex as soon as we get that approved.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, and it's such an opportune time to do it with turkey season just around the corner. Like, how far out are we? What are we, like 6, 7 weeks?
Yeah, it's
20
about 2 months.
of April.
What's
So,
that?
yeah.
20? Yeah. So 7, 8 weeks away. So
7 weeks.
yeah. So like, what
March
an
is a
opportune.
31-day month.
Yeah, like what an opportune time to launch it, right? And yeah, Phil, like their waterfowl load and their turkey load is second to none, really. From I haven't shot it, but
Mhm.
of everything that I've read, and trust me, I've done a lot of reading on it. Actually, the guys from that online, they've got a YouTube. I forget the name of them. But they just did a video on the Apex ammo. And there's been a couple companies that they've actually tore apart online with their reviews because they weren't happy, but they were very happy with the Apex. It
Well,
just
this thing is insane. I mean, for turkey judgment, I use a 2-inch by 8-inch vertical strip, because that's the turkey neck, and at 60 yards, we had 19
pellets.
more pellets in it. I've seen some shots made with it, and I mean, I've used it everything from 3 yards to a whole lot further. It just works. I mean, it hits like an absolute hammer.
That's good.
That killed multiple.
Got some wonderful video Well, in fact, the Goulds, when the Goulds comes out, the shot on that thing, it just goes down like it's poleaxed. It really does. And it patterns incredibly. The guide was nervous because of the range, and it was like, yeah, you got no issues with this stuff.
Oh wow.
Damien, you're
yeah.
thinking steel stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where your market's going to be, or your
Yeah.
love's going to come from, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of fellas that's going to be interested in the TSS and the whole bit, right?
Yeah, it's
Like
very niche. Though. Yeah.
it is very niche, and I would like to be able to say that that's what I would use, because if I was using one shell to knock down a bird every time, then that's what I would use. But my shooting ability on the wing, putting TSS downrange on every time I pull the trigger. Yeah, it's just not my shooting ability doesn't. But then I guess the other thing with that, and I've heard Pat Heinrich, because Pat Heinrichs and Philly, you're a bismuth guy. I have heard fellas say, like, when they get into that higher price range ammo, they're definitely picking their shots. They're not taking those shots that they normally wouldn't take, right? So
Well, the other problem too, though, is like with the big TSS craze right now, because everyone's running like super small pellets. We can't shoot anything smaller than a 7 here in Ontario,
right.
which boggles my mind. Like, I don't know if the turkeys are like genetically superior here north of the border, and we can't kill them with like a number 8 or number 9 shot, or what the case may be.
Yeah.
But again, it's our government, right? Like, we don't call it unterrible for nothing. But yeah, like,
That's
I don't know.
we're behind on a lot of things.
Oh, buddy, day late and a dollar short on everything.
Well, I think it's just the
But
red
knowledge
tape,
and
right?
experience too within the ministry.
Yeah,
You know, it's education at every level.
absolutely.
And once we start to get it in, and you see what it can do, then I think that opens people's minds up to maybe the manufacturers and the importers are telling us the right story. And I'm hopeful that that's the way it's going to go, because I mean, a lot of what we shot stateside was the small town blend, which was 9s and 10s.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
density kills.
It works.
Like,
I mean, sevens are added to Ontario, so like they do adjust, right? Like it used to be 4s, 5s, 6s,
yeah,
to 7s. Like my guess is eventually we'll get 410 and we'll get 9s would be my guess. If I mean, I might be wishing for that, but
well,
I can shoot honkers all day long with my 28 gauge.
oh yeah,
can't shoot a turkey sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
No, but and again, like I honestly do believe that it starts with one person saying, "Hey, listen, we need to shoot 410 at turkey," and then somebody jumps on that bandwagon, and then there's a bunch of people that jumps on the bandwagon, and then it gets the ball rolling. But nothing, nothing, especially when it comes to guns and ammo here in Canada, right? Like nothing is going to happen overnight. Like we're two totally different. That imaginary line that separates the two countries, but we couldn't be any more further apart when it comes to guns and ammo, the attitude within the government, right? So it just is what it is. But I'm sure if there's enough people that complain about it or kick up enough stink that they want it, it'll happen. It's not going to happen overnight, but it'll happen.
Let me segue your conversation.
Yeah,
we're about an election away
yeah,
from either a much more rational way of looking at a lot of these things,
very true,
or potentially the anchor going through the bottom of the boat.
Yeah. The death of these things.
Yeah. No, very good point, Phil. Very, very good point. We are election away from a lot of that stuff, Jane. Ben, and Phil, both of yous, I guess. So you sort of kind of you sort of kind of answered my next question, was when can Canadian customers expect to be able to start buying it? But and really the answer is now. You're just waiting for the go ahead from the government to say, "Yep, we've received your money. We've done everything. We're just waiting for that last check in the box, and it's go time," right?
Yep. I'm waiting for one little word to change from pending. And at that point, we're good to go. That gives us our blanket import
So,
license.
so in a perfect world, you get that tomorrow morning. You get
Sportsman
that,
show.
and then at the sportsman show, people will be able to buy Apex ammunition. At the,
I don't know if we would be able to get it that fast. We would certainly try.
Well, I tell you what,
they
tell you
would be
what,
here
this
for
is
turkey
what,
season.
yeah, this is what I'll do. Well, no, that doesn't even make sense because you're closer than what I would be. I was going to say, if I need to, I'll drive down there and pick it up for you, but you're way closer.
I would probably do the same, Damien. So.
Believe me, this project is so near and dear to a number of guys' hearts. I've already got a guy there that has said, I'm loading up my pickup truck and my trailer and driving it up to you.
Mm-hmm.
So we may not even have to go the full distance. You'll meet him halfway.
Yeah.
I had a couple of them come up turkey hunt with me at the end of last season. So
Okay, good.
they love the area.
Well, you know what? I knew Ontario had a good turkey hunt, and I've said on this show a number of times that I think one of the greatest successes in the Ministry of Natural Resources or the Ministry of Environment, whatever it is here in Ontario, one of the best, the proof of what they've done with that turkey population in Ontario is proof that the science it works, right? Because I think the turkey hunt in Ontario is second to none, really. And the more I hear about it, I don't know if there's many places in North America that has better turkey hunting than what Ontario has. I really don't think so. I'm not a crazy turkey hunter. I like it. I do enjoy it, but I'm not a fanatic like I am over ducks and geese. But I'm going to tell you, like, they did a great job in managing the turkey population. I really do think that. And that's something that I can't take away from them.
And when you think was it 1977 or 78, there were no turkeys in Ontario.
Yeah.
No wild turkeys in Ontario. And my gun club at the time, the Dufferin North Peel Anglers and Hunters, we were involved in, and Ben's heard this, but we were involved in the transplant from Pennsylvania of the wild turkeys swapping for moose.
Yep.
And it went amazingly well. Customs was incredibly helpful. They didn't slow anything down because we had to get the birds in very quickly.
Yep.
The federal government was supremely helpful because they gave us planting locations on military bases, which are
really?
vast acreages of essentially undisturbed area.
Yeah.
And you think, well, that's an impact zone. There's artillery coming down on there. Well, realistically, not much.
No.
And so Meaford, Base Borden, a number of Petawawa, a number of those big bases were key areas to planting the first groups of turkeys. And you're right to give the government credit because they partnered with us. They didn't put a whole lot of money into it, but they gave us the core parts, which was the access. We had the volunteers, and it actually wasn't particularly expensive. The hard part was volunteers' time, and it was guys like us that got out, made the moves, provided transport, provided trucks, and got the stuff going. The biggest part the ministry did was they actually trapped the moose because that was considered poaching.
Yeah.
So they did the moose part down to Pennsylvania, but the turkeys coming north. Yeah, you're right. They did.
Well, buddy, I had no idea that they were put in on bases, and I can tell you that in 2000, if I was on patrol in the middle of the night and a fucking turkey would have jumped out at me, I would have shit my pants because I had never seen a turkey before in my life until the first time I hunted up here. So I would have shit my pants if one of those things would have come out at me. I wouldn't have known what to do.
Oh, buddy, I have walked under a roost at evening time.
Yeah.
My buddy and I were on a fishing trip a bunch of years ago, and we're coming off the lake at dusk, and literally the trail from where we put the boat in a couple days prior, we hit shore, and the trail that takes you up to where I had my truck parked was literally under a roost. And we went through there, toting my little 12-foot aluminum boat, and we busted the roost. And oh my Lord, like you thought it was a herd of elephants running through.
Really, eh?
Oh yeah. that scare the shit out of you.
Wow.
I found it in Kansas once. I had like 200 of them roost in a tree I was sitting underneath. Like, I'm not joking. It was the crazy
God.
scene. Yeah. They just
That's
kept
insane.
just like bird after bird after bird.
But you got in there and done right when.
Yeah. Yeah. Except then I had to wait like 2 hours before I snuck out because I didn't want to bust anything for the next morning. But
right.
That's insane. Closest I've ever been is about 32 or 35 yards.
Oh yeah, I've had multiple birds just literally the same tree I'm sitting on.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but Ontario, you're right, Damien. Ontario is like a hidden gem for turkey hunting. As someone who's quite a bit for it, it is here, Mexico, and maybe northeastern states.
Oh, really?
Like,
Like
up eastern corner, like Maine, Vermont, sort of area is very good too.
And that's the subspecies we have is the same as what's in the Easterns, right? The same subspecies. Phil, I wanted to ask you this question because I know, Odel Engineering and we've talked about how Odell's got their hands into many, many brands that you distribute throughout Canada and stuff. And listen, there's a lot on the market right now. What made you like what was it with Apex that said that you were like, you know what, this is what we're going after. This is the brand we want. This is what we want to bring into Canada. Like what was it that forced you that you had to have this brand and this was what you wanted to bring into Canada?
Right. Apex meets the trifecta of what you want in a new product. First and foremost, it does what it advertises. And it's easy to say, but there's a lot of stuff out there that doesn't. But it does. Second, it had an excellent reputation, and they were early in the game. So they were like us. They were not massive. They were a small company, and they were looking to grow. And they're niche, right? It's a specialty item that does specialty things. It's not for every hunter,
right?
And as you mentioned, it's not inexpensive.
Yep.
But still, when you come down to it, whenever you go hunting, the cheapest thing on your entire trip is probably your ammo. And even at the price of Apex, I mean, how much is a tank of gas to get up to Luke's now and back? How much is a hotel or a place to stay?
Well, you're burning a couple
you got to
hundred.
eat.
Yeah,
exactly. And your gun is not inexpensive. Even turkey hunting with Apex, and it's going to be fairly expensive ammo. I mean, that somewhere between $15 to $25 a shot.
Yep.
But what on an entire turkey hunt cost you less than $25?
No,
I mean, maybe breakfast, but by the time you roll in lunch or a tip, everything. So it is expensive, but when you come right down to it, the other side of it is what makes more difference to the success of your hunt than what you actually shoot the bird with.
Yeah.
Not really much. So, it's got a lot of good things going for it. And that last point, like I said, it's niche. And so we have guys like you, like Philly, Ben, Lou, the guys we've talked about tonight. Niche is where you guys are at. You're looking for cutting edge. You're looking for that advantage. You're looking for the best reasonably best product you can get your hands on to do the job. I mean, and when it comes down to it, one of the things you had mentioned before about using TSS on ducks and geese, far less cripples. Like when it hits something, it hits them like a freight train.
That's right.
And we all want a clean harvest, mostly because what we're shooting at is really tasty.
Yeah.
So I want to bring that home, and that I think is something that all the hunters I know that plays a part in the whole decision.
Yeah, and Philly will know this because we talk about it a lot on this show, right? And by no means, and I think this is the problem with, and I can't speak about turkey hunting because I'm not a big turkey hunter, right? But in the waterfowl world, and you sort of kind of alluded to it, Phil, when you said, you know, it's going to be expensive and stuff. Listen, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I wasn't even thinking about buying a TSS load or buying, like, I was whatever's the cheapest that I can get out, that's what I'm shooting. And there's nothing wrong with if that's where you're at and that's what you want to do, then do it. It doesn't matter as long as you get out and you're having fun and you're doing your thing and you're collecting your animals. That's it. But I'm at the point now, just like you said, Phil, like, listen, I want the best chance that I can get, that when I shoot once, I'm dropping the bird. I don't want cripples. I don't want birds flying off. I don't want to be chasing birds. I want to hit them. I want to knock them down dead. That's the most humane thing, and it's the easiest thing for me. So anybody that's listening to the show and they're like, oh well, yeah, here's going to be another pile of money. Hey, listen, if it's not for you, then it's not for you. And I'm not gonna put any shame on you because you're not shooting an apex load. You do whatever it is you want to do. I'm excited because it's a fucking good load, and I want to shoot it because I want to make sure that when I put the bead on something, it drops. I don't want to have to empty my gun on a cripple. And that's ultimately what it comes down to for me, anyways.
So to echo what you said, Damien, again, as everyone knows, like it's no surprise I shoot bismuth on occasion. I don't go overboard with the business. I do have some, but I limit the shooting. But if you look dollar for dollar, what I spend on shooting my bismuth and harvesting my number of ducks in comparison to other people that are shooting, like, say, a low grade steel, a mid grade steel, and how many ducks they shoot, you and I spend the exact same amount of money.
Yeah, I'd believe that.
You just fired 4 or 5 times as many rounds as I did.
Yeah.
But you and I still brought home 30 ducks, 60 ducks, whatever the case may be. I pick and choose my shots. Obviously, again, with that slight thought in the back of your head, you know, shooting bismuth, what this shit's worth.
Yeah.
You
This is a
become
$15.
you become a phenomenal shooter at that point.
So I got
Because
to
you
tell
will
you,
pick and choose.
so I got to tell you this story. So last weekend, and Ben, you know this, last week, and we went down to Steve Segulik's and we were hunting with him for the late season goose. So I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day. He was like, "So did you go down goose hunting?" I was like, "Oh yeah." I said, "Went down." They were like, "How'd you do?" I was like, we shot 4." And he was like, "You shot 4 geese?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "And you went all the way down to Lake Erie?" I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "So what do you like if you were to price that out?" I'm like, "Oh, that's about $125 a goose is what that cost me." I was like, by the time gas, and I had to take the 407 because traffic going through Toronto was insane, and a bottle of rum and some food and the whole bit. Um, yeah, it was about $125 a goose, I guess, somewhere around there. Um, the thing that I want to the thing I want to thank you, and this isn't, I don't want to sound like a dickhead or a douchebag or anything like that, but I want to thank you for bringing it in, and for a number of reasons. So, I want to thank you for bringing it in because it's something that I want to be able to have in my toolbox as a tool. But it's also a good thing, and we all know it as Canadians. Competition is something that it just seems like it's a Canadian thing where, well, you know, somebody's already doing something like that and I don't want to do it. But competition is needed. Competition is 100% needed. And we're seeing it right now. We're seeing decoy companies popping up left, right, and center here in Ontario, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing that there's decoy companies popping up. It's good that there's another ammunition that's coming, because competition drives success. And I just think that everybody in Ontario, in Canada, is going to benefit from this. And I honestly do. And I can't thank you enough for the amount of work that you've put into it. And I know, because we started before I even hit the record button, I said to Ben, I was like, he is the hardest person in the world to nail down. and have a conversation with, because the guy is just so busy. And Phil, I know you're the same way. You're just busy, busy.
Busy, by the way.
What's that?
We're together. So
Yeah.
yeah, if I'm busy, he's probably busy as well.
That's right. You know what I mean? So it's not an easy thing. It's not something for the faint of heart. And once you start going down this road, you got to see it through. And like I said, it's been a year since you guys went down for your first meeting with him.
Yeah.
And you're still not ready to sell yet. You're close, but you're
we're
still not.
ready.
Yeah, I know you're ready, but like
we were ready to sell last turkey season.
Yeah,
there were people who kind of said, "Well, maybe not."
Yeah, no, I
But
maybe
yeah,
I
no,
should.
Damien, you're 100% correct. It's a process, and we used to call it the valley of death in military procurement. You got all the money and all the support in the world to develop something, and then it got into the procurement system, and it was literally years before you actually saw a contract to produce it.
Yeah,
and you had to survive that.
And by the time you were able to put it in the hands of the troops, it was obsolete, right?
Yeah. I have no idea how many times I could go back and tell you you were 100% correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, here we go. This is the rabbit. So we've got about 10 minutes left. So here's the rabbit hole. Semi-automatic guns, Phil. Is the government going to take them away from us?
Depends on what you mean by government. If it's a liberal government, there's no question. It's their goal is to remove firearms from the hands of Canadians, and that's not. Semi-automatics are just the next hack. They got away with it with handguns.
Yeah,
they got away with handguns largely because they're registered. That's I can't say how much that matters. And if you look at the focus of the last 3 years, it's heavily oriented to all that stuff that's registered. The fact that Harper got rid of the long gun registry when he was in, people were, well, that's all he did at the time. For a lot of reasons, and many of which were backroom, inside of cabinet reasons with people who were not particularly conservative. That was all he could get done at that time. And I mean, I knew Stephen, and he's a great guy. He doesn't necessarily get the sport shooting side of it, but he gets the freedom side.
Right.
And so he did what he did. And he put, I forget what the number was at the time, something like 6 million registrations to the wind. And it was a massive thing for us because it included all of those semi-automatic hunting shotguns, all of those semi-automatic rifles, and they're looking to get them. And there is no question. If a liberal government gets reelected or a Lib Dipper coalition gets reelected, they're gone. It's not even a maybe. They're gone. That's what's going to happen. So we had Mr. Polyev here in Cambridge last week, and I had the discussion with him, and he was at an event that was hosted by the Galt Sportsman's Club. He came down to talk to hunters, sport shooters, fishing guys, conservationists, and say, this is what's going on going forward. We need to get rid of the OIC. We need to get rid of the recent changes. We need the handgun stuff. That all has to go away. As he said, there are picayune little pieces in there that may be beneficial, but by and large, all of that stuff that's in terms of taking away your firearms, that needs to go. And he was very, very clear about it. And he incorporated in the discussion not just us as hunters, but also us as sport shooters. So, those of us that the ARs, the C7 style rifles, those of us that like handgun shooting, he's like, you're not the problem. You aren't the problem. You never have been the problem. You aren't going to be the problem in the future. The only problem you have is you don't vote liberal. So they don't give a crap about you. And the discussion I've had, even inside some of the conservative circles, I said, look, there is a segment. Unfortunately, it's not a big segment, but it's a very loud segment. And I said, they're never going to help you. You have to look at the rational portion of the population and appeal to them. And the rational portion of the population, even non-firearms people, sit there and go, why am I paying billions of dollars to steal somebody's property when they're not doing anything wrong?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the message in the discussion, coast to coast. The other side of the discussion, which is very interesting, is a massive lack of trust in a lot of the authorities because of how they have behaved through certain events that have gone on in the last couple of years. And that's another thing, which is where, you know, the liberal side of the politics are massively different to the libertarian conservative side of the political spectrum here in Canada. And that libertarian small c conservative side is growing because people don't like to be told what to do. And typically Canadians just ignore bad laws. And that's what they've done for the last 50, 60 years. But they're realizing that those small encroachments of bad laws lead to larger and larger and larger encroachments.
Absolutely.
And nobody wants their bank account sealed and stolen.
Nobody absolutely.
Wants to
Once you give up something to the government, they're never giving it back. And you can look at it as whatever it is. Once you give up control of something and they have it, you ain't getting it back. And for she gone. And for our listeners that are, you know, south of the border, and you're wondering what Phil's talking about when he said that we need the OIC to go away and all this. So our current government with the OIC, it's called an order in council, and that was sprang in. Like, he just threw that in. That didn't get parliamentary debate or you know, Senate debate for in the States where you would notice. There was no debate about that. He put it in, and it just happened. And so all of these law-abiding gun owners, all of a sudden their 9mm Glock is now the devil, and you can never use it again. And same with, you know, the even the SKS. And there were so many stories about the guns. There was black toy guns that were on the order in council and the whole bit. So it was a fucking mess. We're hoping that Canadians, but we got to get out of the 416 area code, right? Because that's what's killing us, is that 416 area code. Because if he wins Toronto, Montreal, then chances are he's going to be reelected again. So,
well, if you want to talk about the political strategy, it's the 905 area. And the interesting part, 905 is the belt around Toronto.
That's me.
Okay.
The 416 is downtown Toronto.
Okay.
But the 905 goes around from basically Bowmanville all the way around Toronto, all the way to Niagara Falls.
Yeah, it's York, Peel, Durham.
Okay.
All of those areas, very, very not rural, but definitely not urban.
Right.
One of the things that it's been a talking point that I've had with many politicians, and I mean, it's a long list of the politicians that I've talked to, is that the highest concentration of prohibited firearms ownership in Canada, and that's those various little death by 1,000 cuts that the Liberal government has put in since 1992, is in 905.
Oh,
so
really?
when you're talking 905, that's where a lot of the collectors, a lot of the sports, it's massive concentration of people there, and they pay attention to this. Right. And there's a reason, and they may not vote Liberal, but the key thing is they won't necessarily show up and vote for you.
Right.
And so you need to make sure that you have them on your side, and we get those people to the polls, because that's going to be critical in turning the country. The Atlantic provinces will shift to a certain extent. Quebec is quite predictable. Ottawa and downtown Toronto is very predictable. So is Montreal.
Yeah.
but the area in Ontario is where the election can be changed, because it's a huge population, and it's a population that's driven by policies. And if your policies make sense, you'll do well.
Yeah.
And then the West, sadly, we know the results because the West is very predictable, and the West is predictable not in a bad way. I mean, we know if the Liberals haven't won by the time they hit Kitchener, they're losing.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's right.
That's election math.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everything else is known.
That's not rocket appliances.
No,
all.
You're exactly right.
Thanks for that, guys. We're just over that 50-minute mark, and we have a saying on this show: any longer than 60 minutes, and Corey Baker down in Guelph gets mad at us. So we try to
He's a neighbor. We can sort him out.
Yeah. Well, good luck, because I don't know how anybody's going to sort out Corey Baker, but either way, fellas, this was an amazing show. Like I said, we had a ton of stuff to unpack, and we did. We got through everything that I wanted to ask. I don't think you guys had anything else that you wanted to bring up. And Philly, I think you're good. But I'm going to do a quick around the table. So anything else that you wanted to bring up, now's the time to do it. We can go over to the 60-minute mark and tell Corey to shut his face, and we'll worry about it the next time. But so we'll start with Philly, then we'll go Ben, then we'll go Phil.
Gentlemen, absolute pleasure to actually finally put faces to names. I've known your guys' names for a long time, and it's nice to actually finally chat and meet the faces behind the names.
You got to get out of your basement more, Philly. The boys are around. Don't
judge. Don't judge. Looking forward to seeing you guys at the Sportsman Show and seeing like the mammoth, colossal monstrosity booth and whatnot. But yeah, again, wish you guys all the best in the future. And again, the launching of the new guns, the new turkey gun stuff. Hope you guys have great success with it, and looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks. So I guess like 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks, buddy.
Yeah.
2 weeks. We'll be 2 weeks away. We'll be there setting up.
Shit. I have to go for a haircut.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Brazilian. Make sure you get a Brazilian there too.
Just for you, buddy.
Benny, to you, buddy.
Just thanks for having us, Damien. Thanks for giving us a little platform to speak on tonight. Come see us at the Sportsman Show. And if you want to continue more podcasts further on, Damien, let us know. More than willing.
This is an open invite, and don't wait for me to message you. If you want to come on, Damien, I want to come on, and we'll get you on, dude. Like, honest to God.
Anything at the Sportsman Show or anything like that, we're there for the week. So let us know. And again, thanks, guys. Nice to meet both of you.
No, absolutely. Phil, to you.
It's been a pleasure. We've met, sadly, only briefly a few times. I've learned so much about your background and your service, and being one of the engineering guys that supported you. I mean,
it's cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We need to have a beer and talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We most certainly will.
I would say we should do this again in the mid-late summer, because we have some stuff that has applications coming for the fall.
Oh, absolutely.
So book a time, and we'll do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for everything you guys do, supporting the industry and getting the word out there. Keeps us on the straight and narrow, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So I look forward to doing it again. We'll see you 100%. We'll see both of you at the Sportsman Show, and don't just hang out with the bearded wonder there down in the marsh. Come and see us at the main booth too, because I don't know whether they'll let me out of there.
Probably not. But I will say this, and Phil, you can get mad at me after for this, but that's where the girls hang out. The girls hang out down in Phil's booth. So I'm just saying, people will come by and see you, Phil. 100% they will. 100%.
We'll look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, this was episode 177 of the Union 0430 podcast. Like always, we'll never pretend to be experts. We'll never pretend to be something that we're not. We're just a bunch of people that actually love chatting and talking hunting. Surround yourself with good people. Big love. Please come by and check us out. Check us out at the Sportsman Show, at the main booth, and in the Refuge. Educate yourself and be ready, because turkey is around the corner. But most importantly, before you know it, we'll be chasing ducks again. Big love. Until next week.